A very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Bonsoir, even. Yes, vive la France. Welcome to the chat, Glenn Perry. Hope you're well this evening. Welcome to the Brews at 10 here on my left eye. I'm your host, Lefty. You saw at the start there some scenes from France at the news of the far right being kept out. I'll be touching on that as I talked about it yesterday, a little bit later on as well. Oh, I do have some... I did get some background music sorted out, by the way. See how this goes. Okay, so coming up, MPs have returned to Parliament. They all got sworn in. There was an interesting incident while that was happening as well. I'll be talking about that. Also going to look at the session. Going to go through that. It's obviously the first time Keir Starmer's spoken as Prime Minister. Also, unfortunately, Nigel's in there as well now. I've not watched the whole thing through yet. I've seen some excerpts, so this will be mostly a genuine live reaction to that. Yeah, I've picked out some top tweets and stuff to look at as well, so quite a bit to get through. I'll just leave it another brief moment or two before we open up with a comedy clip. It's going to be Matt Green's latest. Don't know if you've seen that one yet. It's actually quite good. Also, shameless self-publicity time. Please do subscribe if you've not done so already. That means that you can join the chat as well 60 seconds later. Also, please hit the thumbs up button to help the stream reach a wider audience. There's lots of ways that you can support the channel as well. Super chats are open. If you're watching this on a replay, please consider using super thanks. You can also buy gift memberships for other viewers as well. And for those of you who like to help keep me caffeinated, you can check out the Buy Me a Coffee page as well, where you can help to support the channel for just the price of a tasty hot beverage. And speaking of hot beverages, hope you've all got a brew there. You're entitled to have something else if you like. Yeah, I pulled out a few memes as well. I will just quickly say, we're not even a week into the first 5 years of a Labour government, and we're already getting some pretty big hints at I told you so moments. And I thought this was going to come further down the line. I thought they might just stay quiet for a while. But they've attempted to come out as they see it strong and act as though they're bringing their sleeves rolled up change that Starmer's been banging on about. But it's been utterly appalling. I've also released a video today as well that went from members only to public a couple of hours or so ago, so please do check that out. It's my overall thoughts on the 2024 election. But as I was saying, even though it's been less than a week, Starmer's already starting to put the brakes on recognising a Palestinian state. The things that Wes Streeton has said about the NHS already have been pretty disturbing, as well as what Rachel Reeves has had to say about housing. Now, all of a sudden, now that Labour have won by a massive majority, Tony Blair's put his head above the parapet and held this huge conference. I say huge, much publicised, I should say, conference. And yeah, there were Labour MPs up there having their say. Wes Streeton was one of them. I'll be touching on that in a bit, but it's pretty obvious which way Labour are going now. It's just happening a bit sooner than I thought. And Reeves had an appalling launch of her plans for housing as well.
But shut up, Wesley.
I will be getting onto that in more detail as we get through the stream, of course. Right, okay, let's get started. Let's dip in with Matt Green.
In the wake of Labour's landslide win in the UK and the surprise third place for National Rally in the French elections, people across Europe are asking, what now for the right? Our assumptions, projections and expectations correspondent Jonathan Goodenough has more. Yes, that's right, the rise of the far right, the hard right, the radical right and right said Fred has been predicted for many years now, but so far voters have failed to give them enough support. Did you just say failed? Yes, we've been expecting this for some time now, but so far we've been disappointed. Disappointed. Over the weekend in France, many National Rally candidates were blocked by a combination of the Popular Front and centrists. Blocked? But many are saying that the triumph of the hard right has only been delayed. Jonathan? Yes? Do you want the hard right to win? What? It's just the way you're reporting it. It almost sounds like you admire them. No, I'm strictly impartial, like all reporters. Just going to give everyone a chance to stop laughing at that. I'm only reporting the facts. I mean, look at the UK, where Reform, a brand new party, gained just over 4 million votes. Do they have anything to do with UKIP, who in 2015 gained just under 4 million votes? No, all of the UKIP candidates were definitely real. And Reform has only got 5 MPs. Yes, but it's a good start. For what? For Nigel Farage's inexorable takeover of the whole political establishment. Inexorable? That's certainly what it feels like. All across the world, the right is on the march. Unless people organise against it and don't vote for it. Sorry? It's only inexorable if people actually vote for them, and so far the results are pretty mixed on that. And like in France, where there was a genuine chance of the far right winning, other parties came together to oppose them, and the voters didn't give them a mandate. It could still happen though, but it doesn't have to. But it could, and wouldn't that be exciting? Jonathan? Yes? Are you okay? It's just, I miss the drama. Well, soon you'll have the Tory leadership race to cover. Yes, but it won't be the same, will it? I mean, sure, some people will say some mad things and we'll have a laugh, but they won't be running the country, so it won't really matter, I suppose. And this new lot just keep going on about service and respect and being the grown-ups and getting on with it, and it's just boring. Apparently today, Starmer dodged a question about reconnecting with Muslim voters. Did he? Brilliant. Maybe that will help the far right. Or the far left. Next up, as Democrats in America struggle over whether or not to back Joe Biden, we ask, does this make the re-election of Donald Trump inevitable? Oh God, I'm doing it now.
Matt Green there, do check his stuff out. Yeah, and he's right there. I don't know if you remember this interview that he's referring to where Keir Starmer just basically dismissed Muslim communities as voters and began to prattle on about what he thought were the biggest successes of the 2024 election. He's dodging the issue of Palestine like anything. Right, here's something else I wanted to show you. This will probably cheer you up a bit. You might have seen this going around already. Marine Le Pen suffered a crushing defeat, obviously, just days ago in France. And broke down during an interview. This will raise your spirits. Get the small violins out. Oh well. Let's just see that one more time. Maybe 2 more times. So yeah, they ended up finishing 3rd behind the so-called centrist alliance. And with the left coming together and getting the most votes. Since then, actually let's just give that a pause there. Why not? Since then, there have now been reports of corruption, dodgy loans that they received during the campaign, donations, this kind of thing. Surprise, surprise, we see this thing happening in the far right. And it's not taken very long for this to be exposed. So they've got that to look forward to as well. Oh dear. Right, so where to go next? Oh, here's something actually. Well, yeah, I guess this will lead me on to. Yeah, just snip across to the screen. So a lot of you might have seen, and I've also referred to previously, the Labour Files, which is a fantastic documentary by Al Jazeera, and it's won a gold award at New York Television and Film Festival. Quite a coveted honour there, but this has gone largely unreported by the media. Just want to give a shout out to Peter Simmons there. That was the tweet. Yeah, it's been ignored by our media. Quick look at some of the comments. Starmer Stabman. You can never ever trust a turncoat. The great Jeremy Corbyn, says Ren Sharp. They really still do have it in for him, don't they, the media? They certainly don't interrupt when Tories or Labour try and peddle their absolute crap about what went down during the Corbyn years, but there you go. Bit of news for you there, but that does lead me on to this.
In the wake of Labour's landslide win in the UK,
we had all the MPs returning to Parliament today, to the House of Commons. They're all sworn in. The whole process takes quite a long time. Not going to go through all of that, but there was something interesting. We'll just see Jeremy Corbyn being sworn in first.
Hello. We got to state your name and constituency, please.
Jeremy Corbyn is in North.
Would you like to take the oath or the affirmation?
Affirmation, please. I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles, his heirs and successors according to law.
Very much.
So yeah, all very good and straightforward. Although someone noticed just as he was coming towards the end of the line to take his place and make that oath, he was picked up pointing out that the whole ceremony, this whole farce of, you swear allegiance to the king and their heirs and all this like it's Game of Thrones or something. And he was heard having a conversation with someone and he pointed out what utter nonsense it is. I've got a clip of that here, but yeah, check it out. He's right though. The whole thing, the opening of Parliament, the whole business with Black Rod and all this ancient ceremonial stuff. Yeah, I'm not one for much of that at all. Credit for this clip to Politics Joe as well.
Now read it properly. Don't mess about.
Roman Catholic Bible.
No, it's just the Old and the New Testament, isn't it?
Oh, it's the New Testament.
The Old and the New.
Old and Roman Catholic Bible.
No, it's just
Roman Catholic Bible.
no, it's just the Old and the New Testament, isn't it?
Oh, it's the New Testament.
The Old and the New.
Old and
Yeah, another shout out to Politics Joe there for putting that clip together. It is such a load of nonsense, though. It's the whole system itself is awfully outdated, especially this. Yeah, before I move on, do of course want to give a quick shout out to the members as well on the channel. If you'd like to consider joining the channel, you can do so for just 99p. Hit the join button to check out some of the perks. So a very, very warm thanks to these people. Lovely people. Solidarity. Yeah, if you want to join this list again, like I said, it's just 99p now. Just one package on the channel. You do get other stuff as well. Static emojis, early viewings, exclusive content, that sort of thing. So take a look. I don't know if that got in there. Yeah, so, well, we do have to point out that Lindsay Hoyle was reselected as Speaker of the House of Commons. About as useful as an ashtray on a motorbike. I'm sure that a lot of you will agree with that sentiment. This is the guy who pretended that he was worried about an incoming terrorist attack so that he could put through that appalling abomination of an amendment on the Gaza bill put forward by the SNP. I'm sure you'll remember that as well. And now he's been reselected.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
I wish I was, but I'm actually not, unfortunately, so... Got 5 more years of Hoyle, oh, for God's sake. Right, where to go to next? I think I've just got a couple of bookmarks or clips and stuff. And then we'll get into this first session. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. This picture, again, from Twitter. And yes, say it with me. I'll still call it Twitter and I'll die on this hill. Odin Allfather, thanks for joining the chat. Great to see you tonight. Yeah, which one of this lot looks the sneakiest? That's from Just in Time. At Time's take on it. Well, for my money, it's streeting. They're all equally sneaky at this point now. But look at Wes's face there. Right down that just reeks of utter sneakery. And I'm sure he's got some terrible things lined up for the NHS. I might just go on to that now before we go into that session in the House of Commons today. I keep wanting to call it PMQs, but it's not really a proper PMQs. In fact, Sunak, now that he's been removed from office, as far as I understand, was a bit arse-kissy towards the opposite bench. He lost his sort of snidiness that he's had. You're right, Odin. It will always be known as the app formerly known as Twitter. Taff Cat. Like the artist formerly known as Prince. Right, what on earth was I on about? Yeah, streeting. Jesus wept. Let's have a quick look. I do have a little clip lined up of him at this thing I mentioned, Tony Blair's shindig.
The tough messages I delivered in opposition are not going to change now we're in government. It also means...
Straight away, in like flints. In with a bullet. Tough choices. how many times have I said, you know, and these are the I told you so moments that are coming so much earlier than even I might have expected on, you know, in some examples here. They were elected on Friday. It's Tuesday now. There's already this plus other things to be concerned about. So first of all, tough choices. That's a red flag. Alarm bells should be ringing when you hear politicians use that word. That basically means, yeah, it's going to be burned onto the poor while the wealth gap increases and wages stagnate. What he goes on to say basically does not look encouraging whatsoever. So he's referring to the NHS essentially as a capitalist asset, as a commodity even, which is very worrying. And obviously the NHS is a publicly funded service, and the idea behind the NHS is that it's free at the point of use. They did talk about whether the NHS would be free at the point of use in another section of this interview, but he danced around that as well. Towards the end here, he starts to bemoan the fact that the NHS is starved of funding when it was put there in the first place as a publicly funded institution, and it's one of the greatest institutions this country's ever had, arguably the greatest. And he says he's getting sick of hearing that it needs money, and that it's essentially the responsibility of the NHS to make money itself as an asset and contribute to growth.
Ending the begging bowl culture, where the only interaction the Treasury has with the Department for Health and Social Care is we need more money for X, Y and Z. The starting point has got to be, we will help you achieve your mission for growth and improve the prosperity and lives of everyone in this country by making sure that we are with you lockstep in driving growth. That is a big shift in mindset and focus and activity, and that's...
So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm misinterpreting this. It very much sounds to me as though Wes is saying, don't come to me asking for money until you've got your department, whatever it is, yada, 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 turning a profit. And then you'll have my attention. That's scary. That's scary, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. This man is on notice as well. Mentioned in the video I put out today, as well as recent streams. Liam Mohammed ran a really good race against him. Almost beating him. And he has a majority of just 500 in his seats in Ilford North at the moment. This man is on notice. And then he comes out with this. Have you ever heard such direct, unbridled Tory trash coming directly out of the mouths of a Labour MP without at least trying to hide it? At least, I mean, this is brazenly Tory. And, yeah, I really worry to think what's going to happen to the NHS over the next 5 years.
But shut up, Wesley.
Right. Who's next then? How about Reevesy there, towards the middle? What's she been up to? So she's made a statement about her intentions for housing, and of course, anyone who was hoping for a socialist Labour government would think, oh, now that Labour are in, good old Labour will build council houses, yeah? They'll build social housing, affordable. She refused to commit to which types of housing they're going for. The problem isn't a lack of housing as in new built houses per se. There are so many empty properties in the United Kingdom. The problem is a lack of social housing. There's more land dedicated to golf courses than there is social housing, for example. And it doesn't matter how many houses she builds if people can't afford them, if first-time buyers can't afford a deposit for a house. It doesn't matter if there's a lack of social housing. And this has been going on since the 80s. You know, let's remind ourselves. After Thatcher let people buy their council houses, they were not replaced like for like, and targets have been low and not hit. I mean, there have been periods where zero have been built. It's ridiculous. And that's been going on for decades now. So what have we got? Right. I think I've got a bookmark first, and then I've got a bit of a clip of Rachel Reeves. And this is, yeah, from Howard Beckett from Unite, the union. She's confirmed Labour will not build a single council home. Yesterday, Labour announced a major new injection of military assistance for Ukraine. I mentioned that yesterday. He's found some money down the back of the sofa. Nothing for social housing, though, or other public investment. Always money for wars, never money to improve the lives of ordinary people. Labour are Tories. That's Howard Beckett there, socialist trade unionist activist. Some people saying in the comments they think Labour will be worse than the Tories. The broken uni party continues. Goes on and on. What's that one there? Yeah, same circus, different clown. Same circus, different clown. Right, where's Reeves at in the clips?
Do you consider yourself to be a YIMBY? Yes, in my backyard. And then in terms of both the house building and the green infrastructure investment, in history, we've only had this level of house building when the state has been involved. And around the world, the examples which you know of green infrastructure investment have co-invested with the public sector. Are you relying too much on the people behind me from the private sector to deliver this revolution? Will net investment still go down under your leadership at the Treasury?
Well, I can probably answer those on Rachel Reeves's behalf. Yeah, net investment is going to go down. Fewer and fewer people are going to be able to get on the so-called housing ladder.
Yeah, first of all, I do support development, and I think as a constituency MP, I've done just that.
Again, they're very careful with the language, though, just saying development as a general term, rather than I do encourage the building of council homes or other social housing, for example. Christ, Reeves.
We need the private sector to build homes. We're not going to be in the business of building those homes directly.
Just told you, he literally just told you that in history, the time when there's been the biggest increase in housing has been when the state has been involved. He just reminded you about that before his question. And now you're ruling it out as impossible.
need the construction sector, the house building sector to build those homes. And we have announced today, the Deputy Prime Minister and myself, some homes that have been stalled that will now go forward. We've also committed to look at those stalled sites, those wider number of stalled sites, to see what housing we can take forward. But we're not going to let people off the hook. We want affordable housing, and we want housing for social rent as well, and that's an important...
Well, affordable's a very broad term as well. But that's not going to happen. That's dodging the issue. This isn't how we're going to deal with the housing crisis, Rachel, and well, you know it. You're just causing up to business again. But this time in the housing sector.
Important part of the mix. So this is not a green light for any type of housing.
It's not a green light for any type of housing apart from ones that make obscene profits for private companies, I'm sure. But you won't say that on the stage. You'll save that for the after party, where the people behind that reporter join you and you all, you know, share expensive dinners. You might get some gratuities as well while you're at it. Remember recently we were talking about Keir Starmer taking about 75 grand's worth of corporate gratuities. Anyway. Let's get into this House of Commons session before the hour groweth too late. Just check that that's okay. That'll do. Let's just get that. There we go. Also a reminder, I'm going to be raiding into Helena's No Justice channel after this stream as well, so do check that out. I'm going to be putting a link in the chat. You should also automatically raid in to a live stream, which is on tonight. I think she normally does stay on a bit longer than I do. So please do stick around. And you'll enjoy that content, I'm sure. Solidarity, Helena. Right, let's get cracking with clapping. You're not supposed to clap in the House of Commons, apparently. Right, let's cut the crap. There's nothing actually happening. I might have the wrong clip lined up. Okay, yeah. I'll do that. Supposed to be... Yeah, the meeting in Parliament. Right, here we go, yeah. Right, this should be it. This is the election. Well, we all know how that went. I'll just quickly announce it. Spoiler alert, I did tell you earlier.
Order. Under the provisions of Standing Order number 1A, I am now required to ascertain whether Sir Lindsay Hoyle is willing to be chosen as Speaker, and I call Sir Lindsay Hoyle. Yeah.
Firstly, I'd like to thank my constituents of Chorley for returning me to this House and allowing me to put myself forward again as Speaker. It is an honour to serve the people of Chorley, as I have done steadfastly for the last 44 years, as a councillor and on that local authority, then a Member of Parliament for the last 27 years. I would also like to thank my wife Catherine and daughter Emma and the staff in Chorley in that constituency office for all their support. Of course, for me...
there's some sort of malfunction with the console here, I'm not sure. Oh, God, I just can't get this picture off. It's a crying shame, but I'm just going to have to leave it up there.
On how to campaign was going. He was always going to give me that. Whatever the polls were doing, whatever needed to be said, I can still hear him now saying, "Don't stop now, you have to keep going." Well, I've got to say, Doug, after 25,000 steps a day during the campaign, I certainly did do that. I want to say...
I think I'm going to cut through this crap. How long does this go on for? Or goes on for a while? Yeah, not having this.
May I also welcome Sir Edward Lee to his new role.
Cut through to the end there.
On that basis, I submit myself to the House as your Speaker, seeking to be your champion.
Sod off.
Honourable Member for Lancashire and Wyre to move the motion.
Thank you, Sir Edward. I beg to move that Sir Lindsay Hoyle do take the chair of the House of Commons. The best thing, as far as I'm concerned, about having Lindsay as Speaker is how good it is to have someone in the chair who doesn't have an accent.
Oh, ha 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 ha. Lindsay, I don't, oh, God, well, I just, I just do what Sir Keir tells me. You mean an accent like that?
For the way that they've ensured all new members, the way...
Yada, yada, yada. Right, let's get into this.
Family and his young daughter. That support, Mr. Speaker-elect, was characteristic of your profound care for the interests and welfare of all members, especially backbenchers. And I'm grateful that new members will be able to look to you as they begin the great privilege of serving their constituents in this House. And may I too welcome each and every one of the new members who is here for the first time starting their great responsibility. May I also thank Sir Edward for presiding over this election and congratulate him on becoming the new Father of the House. More than 40 years of continuous service. That is a stunning achievement. And now, back in the 1970s, Sir Edward wrote a book described as, and I quote, a personal collection of quotations dating from 3000 BC to the present day, which might be said to cast some light on the workings of the Tory mind. Mr. Speaker-elect, after the last 6 weeks, I think it might be time for a new edition.
I mean, this session, just kissing each other's arses, makes me feel a little bit uneasy. I do have to be honest. But they've been cozying up to each other for a while, haven't they?
Mr. Speaker-elect, you preside over a new Parliament, the most diverse Parliament by race and gender this country has ever seen. And I'm proud of the part that my party has played in that, proud of the part that every party has played in that.
I'm all for diversity, of course, but it's policies that count, not gender or ethnicity. But diversity is obviously a great thing. Not taking anything away from that.
For a slight departure from convention, to also pay tribute to the new mother of the House, Diane Abbott, who has done so much in her career over so many years to fight...
All ridiculous. The way you... Oh, no. No. That's so two-faced.
Opportunity and the responsibility to put an end to a politics that has too often seemed self-serving and self-obsessed, and to replace that politics of performance with the politics of service. Because service...
You'll have to forgive me, Keith, but I'm certain I can recall in the campaign, and even before that, you referring to Labour as your Labour Party, your changed, air quotes, Labour Party. And it was all about you, my party. I have turned the party around, I have changed the party, this sort of language. And now you stand there and openly criticise the very tactics that you've used yourself. What a shill, what a hypocrite.
This is a precondition for hope and trust, and the need to restore trust should weigh heavily on every member here, new and returning alike.
He's carried out one of the biggest political coups in UK history in what he did to the former leader of the Labour Party and what he's done since he became a Labour member in 2015. And he does speak of trust. Well, he certainly doesn't have mine, and he hasn't for quite some time now.
Well, Mr. Speaker-elect, I'm pleased to join the Prime Minister in welcoming you back to the Speaker's chair. And can I also praise the wonderful speech from the Honourable Member for Lancaster and Wyre? And can I start by congratulating the Prime Minister on his election victory? And as he takes on his formidable task, he and his family deserve the good wishes of all of us in this House. Now, in our politics, we can argue vigorously, as the Prime Minister and I did over the past 6 weeks, but still respect each other. And whatever disputes we may have in this Parliament, I know that everyone in this House will not lose sight of the fact that we are all motivated by our desire to serve our constituents, our country, and advance the principles that we honourably believe in.
Except you, because you handed your cards in. You're leaving.
It's the greatest honour, privilege, and responsibility. I know every one of us will be trying to repay the trust placed in us, and I look forward to continuing to represent the interests of my own rural North Yorkshire constituents. One of the great aspects of our system is no matter how high you rise, you still have that constituency which keeps you grounded. And my advice to all members is to appreciate the role that you have every day that you have it.
Just a reminder that there was a chalkboard outside a coffee shop in Northallerton, which is part of Sunak's constituency, that said our coffee is richer than a Tory in Ladbrokes. Of course, referring to the betting scandal.
And for those of us in my party, let me begin with a message to those who are no longer sitting behind me. I am sorry. We have lost too many diligent, community-spirited representatives whose wisdom and expertise will be missed in the debates and discussions ahead. It is important that after 14 years in government, the Conservative Party rebuilds. So now we will take up the crucial role of His Majesty's official opposition, professionally, effectively, and humbly. And restoring trust begins by remembering that being here is an opportunity to do what those we serve expect of us. And in our case...
Where's Penny? Where's Penny with her smug grins? Was she gone, Rishi? She's not there.
1 years of remarkable, dedicated service to this House and his constituency. I know full well how ferociously my right honourable friend fights for the interests of his constituents, and I applaud him for that. My right honourable friend is also testament to the benefits of an early morning dip in the Serpentine. And members may be interested to note that the Bottomleys have also had a big influence on my right honourable friend's career. It was in 1974 that my right honourable friend ran against Arthur Bottomley in Middlesbrough.
Yeah, Glenn, which think tank came up with the brown tie and ill-fitting suit? Also, which think tank came up with the jokes?
Congratulate the new mother of the House, the member for Hackney North and Stoke Newington. We have our differences on policy, but no one can deny the Right Honourable Lady's important role in this House and the inspiration for so many young women of colour that she has provided. The Right Honourable Lady...
Well, he's kissing arse. She's obviously well liked by her constituents, of course. I'd love to know your thoughts. I've not had a great amount of feedback on the channel about whether Diane Abbott should have stood as an independent or not when there was all that furore in the build-up to the election as well. like to know your thoughts. She did obviously win a seat, otherwise she wouldn't be. That is literally the seat that she's sat in right now. So, would you have preferred to see her stand as an independent, or is this her way of sort of getting what she deserved all the way along, which was to be able to stand for Labour, which I think is her main reasoning for doing so?
Is true in every sense of the word, a trailblazer. Yeah. And can I join with you, Mr. Speaker-elect, to thank House staff for their hard work in welcoming our new colleagues to this House and their service over the coming Parliament. And finally, may I congratulate you, Mr. Speaker-elect. When you first ascended to the Speaker's chair, you did so with a healthy majority, and that was testament to your wide appeal and the confidence in which this House places in you and your judgments. The last Conservative Prime Minister, the Right Honourable John Major, who spoke from these opposition benches, said about the role of the Speaker, "The job specification is pretty daunting. The patience of Job and the wisdom of Solomon are only the basic requirements. We demand also impartiality."
Oh, goodness me.
Well, Mr. Speaker-elect, you have shown over the past 4
Lindsay Hoyle is awful. Awful.
The last few years in this House have been at times difficult, and you, sir, have always brought this House together. That was clear when we lost our colleague, Sir David Amess. And I know your guidance and support for members then was greatly appreciated. It is a privilege to be in this House.
Is this his way of saying, thanks for letting us get away with all of those lies? And keeping up the tradition of not being able to say the word lies in Parliament.
Facilitate that. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker-elect, I have no doubt that we will face difficult days together in this place, but I also know that I speak for the whole House when I say that we will all welcome your leadership and guidance in the months and years ahead.
I call the father of the House, Sir Edward Lee.
Mr. Speaker-elect, as the first backbencher to speak in this Parliament, I seem to remember that almost the very first thing you said, almost before you even arrived in the chair to start your distinguished career as our Speaker, you said that your primary...
I'm going to skip through this ass-kissing bit.
That when I was a new member in 1987...
Well, I've seen a clip of this part as well. I'll let this play through. Yeah, she goes on to point out how many more female MPs there are now than when she first started back in the late 80s.
There were only 40 female members of Parliament. Wow. Today we have 264. And some of us are glad that we have lived to see this. And I can't speak about the increased numbers of female members of Parliament without referencing my predecessor, Baroness Harriet Harman, who did so much to work to have an equal and diverse House. We are going into very tumultuous times. And historically, this House has played a role in these events, both nationally and internationally. And I'm sure it will be the same going forward, and we will be presided over in the excellent way of the Speaker-elect.
I call the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Ed Davey.
Mr. Speaker-elect, it is a real pleasure and privilege.
Has he not got a hard hat on, ready for a bungee jump, or has he not showed up in a canoe? Has he finished prattling around?
You're taking on, so thank you for agreeing to serve. You've shown time and again your commitment to the vital role this House plays in holding the government of the day to account. The new government of the day, as the Mother of the House has just said, faces a very difficult task.
Right, I'll skip that, Davey. I think Stephen Flynn's up here, so I'm going to skip to that. It's normally much better. I can't deny that I am gutted that SNP are reduced to 9 seats now. But Stephen Flynn's still there.
I wish to begin by welcoming all new members to the Chamber, in particular those members from Scottish constituencies. There's probably a few more new members from Scottish constituencies than I would like to have seen, but I do look forward to working constructively with you to deliver in the best interest of the people that we are all so fortunate to represent. To you, Mr. Speaker-elect, I think it's safe to say that me and you didn't always see eye to eye during the course of the last Parliament. But in politics and in life, I think it's important to let bygones be bygones and to focus on the future. And I think events of that time showed us that me and you have quite a lot in common when it comes to both then and indeed the general election, because despite the best efforts and indeed the best intentions of certain people, we both managed to hang on to the seats that we hold so dear. Mr. Speaker, I do look forward to working constructively with you over the course of the coming weeks, months and years to allow us to best represent the people that we respect in the finest traditions of this House. Thank you very much.
I now call the Leader of the DUP, Gavin Robinson.
Congratulations, Mr. Speaker-elect. We
all
are
right.
thrilled to see you back in your
God.
seat, but for those new members of Parliament who have yet to understand just how this place works, some of them will learn.
All right, in the interest of saving time, I'm going to skip through. I think I know what Dickhead is about to say. That is who I'm lining up here now. Yeah, unfortunately he's gone and got himself a seat, hasn't he? It was bad enough before he had a seat, how much of a platform he got on the mainstream media. But I understand all he had to say in his little speech here was a dig at the former Speaker of the House, John Bercow, who was a Tory, and now he's lauding the Labour Speaker of the House, which is also indicative of just how close Labour are to the right at the moment, I think, as well. Let's get it over with.
I now call the Leader of Reform, UK, Nigel Farage.
That makes my skin crawl. It's like someone stood on my grave. Oh, anyway.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker-elect, thank you very much indeed. We are the new kids on the block. We have no experience in this Parliament whatsoever, even though some of us have tried many times over the years previously to get here. So we can't judge you from working in this place, but we can judge you from the way the outside world sees you. And I don't just mean the United Kingdom, I mean the world, because Prime Minister's Questions time is global.
There's been another console malfunction. Unfortunately, I can't get this off your screens at the moment, and for now it'll just have to stay there.
To the role as Speaker, so we absolutely endorse you entirely for this job. And it is, I must say, in marked contrast to the little man that was there before you and besmirched the office so dreadfully in doing his best to overturn the biggest democratic result in the history of the country. We support you, sir, fully.
I now call the Leader of Plaid Cymru, Liz Saville-Roberts.
Utter groans there from the House. That was terrible. God. What else is he going to come up with in the next 5 years? Will he last 5 years? Will there be some incident, some misdemeanour that means he'll have to stand down? Who knows?
Here is over 40%, and more than half of those are new to this House. It is fantastic to see steady progress towards proper representation. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate not just the incoming government for their victory, but also the smaller parties in this place. All of us here, whether we belong to the largest parties, the smallest parties, or no parties at all, we were all elected in the same way. Whatever the size of our parliamentary grouping, the principle of one vote, one value is the foundation of our democracy, and that principle should be cherished and defended for the sake of all our constituents. And I repeat now to the House, Mr. Speaker, what I said upon your election all those years ago. All those constituents are equal and they all deserve respect. We begin the work of representing and championing our constituents, and I have every confidence, Mr. Speaker, that you will continue to ensure that representatives here are treated fairly, because our constituents should be treated fairly too. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Yeah, that was quite well put there. Also, not as far as I would have hoped, but there were massive gains for the Greens, Socialist Independents as well. They got 6 seats, that's the most ever. And the Greens with 4 is a record for them, of course, as well. Grounds to build on, but it's worth reminding viewers as well that the Greens came second in an astonishing 40 seats. It's coming towards the end of this now. And I've just got another couple more bits to go through. Let us know how you're doing in the chat. Quick reminder as well, hit the thumbs up button if you're listening. Please do subscribe as well if you've not done so already. Check out ways to support the channel, including super thanks, buy me a coffee page, and you can join for just 99p. Lots of perks to enjoy there. Don't want to sound like a capitalist or anything, but got my stall out.
The co-leader of the Green Party, Adrian Ramsey.
Well, I was just on about you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker-elect, and congratulations on the support you have received from across this House today. And I can already say on behalf of the new cohort of Green MPs that we have been very pleased with the support you have given us, where you've shown that you go out of your way to support new members in this House and support MPs from all parties to be able to hold the government to account and represent our constituents. And I know I speak on behalf of...
Actually, I don't think that's necessarily true. The biggest example I do have to keep referring to was that Gaza amendment, and he certainly didn't respect the SNP in that case, them being a smaller party. Obviously, they did have over 40 seats at that point, now reduced to just 9. But I would dispute that statement.
all the Green MPs, and I'm sure all the new MPs, in saying we are very conscious that we are here first and foremost to be constituency MPs, to represent our residents, and we appreciate your support in enabling us to do that. May I associate myself with the remarks of the Prime Minister about the importance of politics being about public service, and I very much hope in this new Parliament we can all move to a less tribal form of politics, where we work together, where we can agree and move things forward in the national interest. Mr. Speaker-elect, thank you for your support and congratulations.
I now call the Leader of the SDLP, Colm Eastwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Interestingly, I think, well, I was going to say I'm not sure how it's going to work out. This is a party with co-leaders. Carla Denyer is the other leader of the Green Party. Are they going to take turns, or is it just going to be Adrian Ramsey speaking in Parliament? I'm not sure how that's going to work out. They might have a rota going on. Don't know.
I'm very glad to be back. I'm very glad to see the results of that election. Many people in Northern Ireland are delighted with it, and we look forward to holding the new government to account for the promises that they've made to the people of the north of Ireland. I want to take this opportunity also to welcome all the new members, even the ones that I profoundly disagree with, The one advice I would give every new member here is to remember that the Speaker doesn't just chair the meetings. He's the boss. He is in charge of everything around this place, and it would do well for you not to fall out with him. In fact, even a bit of sucking up sometimes is good. I want to take this opportunity, as I say that, Mr. Speaker, to thank you and to congratulate you for all the fantastic work that you did over the last part.
Well, I'd also dispute that statement, you know. This wet flannel couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. He might be capable of raising his voice now and then, but what he allows MPs and has allowed Tories to get away with for a very long time now is absolutely appalling, and he's obviously now in Starmer's pocket.
You were a champion, as you said yourself, for the backbenchers of this place. A champion for the smaller parties, even when some of us pushed very, very close to the line when we felt that certain things had to be put on the record of this House. You were there. He knows what I'm talking about. You were there to protect us from some...
Do you know... God, how can I compare it? Well, even if you go back to when you left school and there'll be some sort of leaving assembly and your teachers will be cracking jokes and most of them, they're just absolutely the pits of the world. Or if you've had an awkward official works leaving do, and, these kind of jokes, and it's like, yeah, I know me and Paul from accounts have never seen eye to eye, we don't get along, but da-da-da-da-da, he's got a pretty good golf handicap. This, just reeks of that, really. It's all a formality. It's very put on as well. It's very fake. Because within just days now, they're going to be back at it. Fortunately, the braying and the Tory schoolyard, the Tory schoolyard noises will have gotten somewhat quieter. Although I wouldn't put it past Labour to adopt the same things as they do in Parliament. All this.
Some of the legal authorities who would like to get at us some of these times. But anyway, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for that. I wish you all the best in corralling this new House. It is very diverse in terms of representation and in terms of opinion. And I look forward to the end of tribal politics. I think that'll be a sight to behold. Congratulations.
I consort to Lucy Eastwood on behalf of the Alliance Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I warmly congratulate you on your re-election as Speaker-elect. I am here as the new MP for Lagan Valley and representative for the Alliance Party of Northern Ireland. My presence here demonstrates a changing, more shared and integrated Northern Ireland, and of that in Alliance we are very proud.
Yeah, I think they gained seats for the first time there in Northern Ireland in this year's election.
Given the greater diversity of parties in this House, this leadership and precedent becomes even more important. I also want to put on record how well you represented Parliament on the world stage and at the time of the passing of our late Queen and the coronation of our new King. I also want to associate myself with the remarks from the Prime Minister about this job being of public service. All of us in this House do owe a debt of gratitude to our constituents. I will never forget the constituents of Lagan Valley, and I join with everybody in the whole House in looking forward to committing to public service for all. Thank you, Speaker-elect.
Starmer nodding along there, like he's not just beholden to lobbyists and the LFI.
Mr. Speaker-elect, I join in the congratulations and best wishes to you. To this point, of course, I have observed your speakership from a distance. Now I will have the benefit of observing it rather more close up. And with me on my best behaviour and you at your tolerant best, I trust that we will have a mutually cordial relationship going forward. And I will certainly draw upon your guidance and the experience that you bring to this House. As I come to this House, I come on behalf of constituents in Northern Ireland with a very clear message.
I will have to just leave it there, not taking anything away from Northern Ireland in general, you know, the population. I don't want to upset anyone, essentially, is what I'm saying. Yeah, there you go. Just need to move on, because time's cracking on. Yeah, don't forget I will be raiding into Helena's No Justice channel afterwards. I believe I've got the live stream queued up. Just a couple more bits wanted to go through. I've got some more bookmarks to take a look at. I did mention the Starmer nodding along like a spring-necked dog in the parcel shelf of a car to all of these great sentiments about serving the public. Oh, of course, serving the public, taking nearly 80 grand's worth of corporate gratuities, Prime Minister yada yada yada, £100,000 a year plus expenses, etc., plus at least 50 grand that we know of that have come from Israel lobbies as well, which is why I've bookmarked this. This is from Steve Powers. If you're watching, Steve, thanks for sharing this one on Twitter. MPs patiently waiting for their instructions to arrive from Tel Aviv, Labour MPs. And there's, what, 411 of the bastards now, so, well, they're not all, you know, there are still a few good eggs in there, your Zara Sultanas, etc. John Ashworth isn't there, of course. Another thing I wanted to touch on as well, someone else who isn't there, sorry, she is there, but she's not on the front bench, despite, you know, going along with Starmer, turning her back on Corbyn, unfortunately, like so many other Labour MPs before her. But Emily Thornberry has revealed that she's surprised that she's not been given a cabinet position for her loyalty. This one's from Yahoo News. Scroll down, so there she is. Don't know where that picture's from. If it's a recent one, she certainly looks disheartened there. So she said that she's sorry and surprised to have been snubbed after being left out of Sir Keir Starmer's cabinet. You know, poor you, after doing everything you were told and turning your back on perhaps what could have been one of the country's greatest ever prime ministers if you'd not all stabbed him in the back. Anyway, the former Shadow Attorney General did not receive a role in the new government on Friday, with the job instead handed to Richard Hermer, a lawyer from outside Parliament. In a post on Twitter, she revealed that she was not taking up another role in the cabinet. The announcement came as Starmer announced a raft of ministerial appointments. We'll just have a quick look at some of those. Bridget Phillipson is the Women and Equalities Minister, days after being unable to say in a radio interview whether biological males should be able to use a woman's toilet. I think someone, and these are probably trolls as well, by the way, we're having a, you know, probably not going to be a massive fan of what Bridget Phillipson's going to do under Keir Starmer, but someone said that she's the women's minister, but she also uses the pronoun they. But the right-wing troll in question, neglected to point out that it's the Women and Equalities Minister, of course, and that does, of course, include equal rights for trans and whatnot. So, yeah, ridiculous crap from the right wing as expected from usual. Downing Street released a further list of appointments which also revealed that Annalise Dodds has been made Minister for Aid. She'll attend Cabinet despite not being Secretary of State rank. And I've still not seen Annalise Dodds and Matt Green, who you saw at the top of the show, in the same room. But which way around could that be? Is this stand-up and YouTube comedian who then parades as a member of Parliament, or the other way around? You decide. No, I'm only joking. No disrespect to Matt Green there. I do love his stuff. Stephen Kinnock leaves the immigration brief he'd held in opposition to become Minister in the Department of Health. Diane Johnson and Angela Eagle have been given senior jobs in the Home Office. That's not great either. Nick Thomas Simmons, Minister for the Constitution. Just a reminder as well, in 2014, Emily Thornberry was sacked by Ed Miliband after tweeting a picture of a house adorned with 3 St George's flags and the owner's white van parked outside in the driveway. She captioned it, "Image from Rochester," where Labour was fighting a by-election at the time. Starmer said, "Emily Thornberry's been fantastic. She's got a big part to play in as every single one of my now 412 Labour." Sorry, it's 412, not 411. There was, of course, that one seat. Still left until, I think it wasn't declared until Saturday or Sunday, was it? How many recounts? Excuse me. How many recounts do they do on that one? Is there any more to this? Starmer said his government will have a different way of doing politics. That's bollocks, of course. Speaking of bollocks, it looks as though Starmer sat down perhaps a little bit too quickly in that picture. I'm not sure if we can get any confirmation there. Pat McFadden's just a couple of... He's, God me, this man really can hold a room, Pat McFadden. I don't know if you've ever been in a party with Pat McFadden, but he's the absolute life and soul of it. He's so interested and enthusiastic that you probably risk falling into a coma within 30 seconds of hearing him speak. So there's 19 new ministerial appointments. Of course, they can create these, positions and whatnot. Mentioned yesterday as well that even though John Ashworth lost in Leicester South, lost to an independent, Shocker Adam, they've said that they're still going to find a position for him, which is completely undemocratic. The same way that they managed to shoehorn David Cameron in to the House of Lords so that he could return to be, Foreign Secretary. Yeah, and that's pretty much that. I won't go into all these new appointments and roles. That was just the main thing. Thornberry's a bit pissed off. Oh well. It's almost like Starmer goes back on his promises or something. Not sure what you were told in private about what to expect. But when you back a man who makes so many U-turns and is more than prepared to stab his colleagues in the back, no matter how lofty their position might be, don't be surprised if the same thing happens to you, Emily. That's all I can say for that. Right, gang, we're going to start to come to the close of the stream now. I just want to give a shout out to all of the members again and remind you that you can join this list of wonderful, awesome, fantastic people for just 99p and check out some of the perks as well. Hope you've enjoyed the stream. It's been great to see Glenn and Odin in the chat. Thanks a lot for joining me this evening. If you're watching on a replay, do add a comment. I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. I'll try and be back through the week with as many brews at 10 as possible. I'll be keeping going with the Sunday live streams as well. And once PMQs kicks off again, that'll be returning on Wednesday evenings as well. JC, good to see you too. Just before we pop off. Yeah, JC, the list also includes gifted memberships. It's yeah, I do have to keep updating the list as often as possible. It fluctuates all the time, you see. We have new members joining. Sometimes it's a little bit in between people renewing the memberships. They don't, if they, you know, on and off of YouTube or whatever. So yeah, that's the reason for that. So yeah, I'll be back with you for more Brews at 10 during the week. Until then, I hope you all take very good care of yourselves. Thanks a lot for being here this evening. Take care, everybody, and my left eye, I'll be seeing you soon. Stick around for a raid into Helena's No Justice channel, though please don't go anywhere. I'm just going to stop the stream now. You should go there automatically. In fact, just as a backup, bear with me, I'm going to put a link in the chat now, so don't nobody go nowhere. You should have that link to Helena's live streams as well, just in case this doesn't work. So that's me for now. Alright.